All right, welcome back to another Bible study. We're in Numbers chapter 16 today. This is a long chapter, so I'm going to be as quick as I possibly can. There's a free PDF that you can download on our website and a bunch of other resources. We're now through Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and halfway through Numbers. So our main characters for Numbers chapter 16, we've got Moses and we've got Aaron. You probably know who they are if you have been studying with us. But then our unique characters here for this chapter are going to be a guy named Korah, a guy named Dathan, and a guy named Abiram. These are men who led a rebellion against Moses and Aaron's authority. In terms of our timeline, we are approximately 1490 to 1450 BC. The events in number 16 occurred during the children of Israel's 40 years of wandering in the wilderness before they got to enter the land of Canaan. And as we look at our map, we know from the last couple chapters that the Israelites had to turn around after they were at the borders of Canaan. They were in the wilderness of Paran, but God told them to turn around, go back into the wilderness as punishment for their faithlessness in the event of the 12 spies that went into Canaan, and how the people grumbled against God because they thought that they couldn't take the land because the inhabitants of Canaan were too strong. All right, and now for our outline. Verses 1 through 40, Korah leads a rebellion in Israel. So Korah, who is a Levite, 2 Reubenites named Dathan and Abiram, and 250 chiefs of the people rebelled against Moses and Aaron's authority. They argued Moses and Aaron had no right to claim that they were superior in authority to any other Israelite, and that the camp of Israel should be led collectively by all of the people. They accused Moses of trying to make himself a prince, and accused him of leading them out of a land of abundance, meaning Egypt, and taking them to kill them in the wilderness. Moses told the rebels to appear before God the next morning with censers of incense, and that God would make his selection for who he wanted to lead Israel. So the next day, Moses, Aaron, the rebels, and all of the Israelites met at the tabernacle. And many of the Israelites had actually sided with Korah, and they also wanted Moses and Aaron removed. God's glory appeared, and God spoke to Moses, telling him to stand back from the people because God was going to destroy them all. But Moses pled with God not to destroy the people on account of Korah and the individuals who were with him. So God told the people to stand back from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. So that was the fate of Korah, Dathan, Abiram, and their households, but then God sent fire into the camp, and this fire killed the 250 chiefs of the Israelites who had allied with Korah in this rebellion. Eleazar, who was Aaron's son, he was one of the priests, he was told to collect the 250 censers that these chiefs had brought, to hammer them into plates, and to use them as a covering for the bronze altar. And that would remind the people of this rebellion and what had happened, and that the individual who God said was in charge was the individual in charge. So that is section number 1, but guess what? The people aren't done complaining. Shockingly, verses 41 through 50, the people complain and God sends a plague. So the following day, the people grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and they accused them of killing God's people, meaning Korah and the rebels. God was so angry that he sent a plague into the Israelite camp. Moses told Aaron to rush into the tabernacle to get fire from the altar and to burn incense in the camp to appease God's wrath and to make atonement for the people. So this is what Aaron did. He ran into the congregation with the burning incense, and the plague was stopped, but not before 14,700 people were killed. Now let's finish off with a quick application. God's judgments are generally harsher for those who lead others astray. We have observed this already in some of the books that we've covered, and we observe it here. God's judgment was harsher on Korah and Dathan, Abiram, and the 250 men that were with him. It was also harsher on the 10 spies who led the people into faithlessness. God killed those 10 spies with plague. This is also observable in the ministry of Jesus. He was harsher on people like the Pharisees, the scribes, the Sadducees, because they misguided other people. In Mark chapter 9, verse 42, Jesus said that it would be better for a person to have a stone tied around their neck and for them to be cast into the sea than for that person to lead other people into sin. In the book of James, James 3:1, James warns that not everyone should be or should have the desire to become a teacher, because teachers will be, quote, judged with greater strictness. So before we consider becoming a guide to others, we need to take these verses to heart and very seriously evaluate our motives and to make sure our hearts are pure, that we actually want to lead people to God, not somewhere else.